I should put my headphones on. Hey, everybody. We should be live. Let us know, as usual, if this thing is not working. But hello, everyone. Andrew's in there. Kyle is out there. There seem to be a few others. Everyone seems to be signing up now. Clay's here with me. We're going to be talking about Mandalorian because we started off talking about these episodically, but the last three we did not. So we're doing them chapter 6 through 8, all as one thing. And so those episodes are The Prisoner, The Reckoning, and Redemption. And then we're done with The Mandalorian. So, Clay, how are you?
I'm good. Yourself? How is your... I'm good. Yourself? Question mark. Sorry.
The Siri bots is malfunctioning for Clay. Yeah, I'm good. How was your Christmas?
It was good. Pretty low key. I got to catch up on my video game playing, which is nice.
Oh, good. You started a NHL season and ready to
Not
kick
yet.
off.
Not yet. I'm working my way through Arkham Knight currently and Battlefield 1. I'm very excited about both of them.
Which ones is Arkham Knight the latest Batman one, or is that the earliest one? It's the latest one.
Okay. Yeah, it's the newest one.
How is it?
It's great. I think it's awesome. I really enjoy it.
Happy New Year to you too, Mercer. Thank you very much for the super chat. Andrew says Clay is being shouty with his arms, so the video is working as well. Let's talk about Mandalorian. Let's see here. What do I want to say about the Mandalorian? So we watched the final 3 episodes, I guess, and we're here. And I'm I don't know. I have I'm hitting to tell you where I am in my Star Wars fandom at this point. I muted the word Star Wars on Twitter because I couldn't handle it anymore. Not because people are responding to me or anything, but just I feel like my feed is flooded with Star Wars stuff.
Hot takes, baby. Hot takes.
It's about Rise of Skywalker. It's about The Mandalorian. It's about The Last Jedi is resurging again as something to talk about.
Because you can only like one of them. You can't like both of them, and you can't dislike both of them.
No, they can't be.
You can only like one.
They can't. You can't have different opinions about each one or like each one for different reasons. I haven't seen Rise yet or anything, but so this is all to say I'm coming into the final 3 episodes of Mandalorian slightly worn out by Star Wars in some way. As everyone knows, it's not my favorite franchise, and it's not my go-to die on a hill kind of a franchise. So I don't really have any provocative takes about this that aren't going to be unlike what we talked about for the first 5 episodes of The Mandalorian. I think The Mandalorian is a solid B of a show. And I don't know if I have anything else to say about that, but what do you think?
Yeah, it's same, I guess.
Yeah.
See you guys. That's good. No. I thought that I actually thought the last 3 were pretty strong. I think they still have the same issues, if you want to call them that the other ones have, where they are incredibly simplistic to the point of I don't know if it's a detriment, because I mean, like you were saying, if this is a show for kids, then it's fine. And I mean, if honestly, if this show is doing the legwork of getting kids back into Star Wars, then it's doing its job. Like, then that's great. Then that make the show you want to make. But it is surprisingly simplistic. That being said, I really liked the second to last episode. So the one where they actually go back to the planet with Cara Dune and the baby, and the last one with Werner Herzog in it. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, Werner Herzog has some stretch where he's talking about something, and I was going to record screen capture him talking about it, because the way just hearing Herzog say this ridiculous line that he has to say just made me laugh. It was really enjoyable.
Oh, yeah, they totally wrote him a Herzog speech to give at the end before he gets shot up, like about the coldness of the universe, and it was great. It was perfect use of him.
My 3-year-old got a book about bears for Christmas, and I want Herzog to do an audio reading of this child bears book.
You should just watch. Have you seen Grizzly Man?
Yeah.
That's basically what Grizzly Man is 2 hours of him reading a book about bears. Or actually,
the
you
chaos
know the book
of the universe. Yeah,
the book that came out a few years ago called "Go the Fuck to Sleep."
Yes.
Yeah, he did a reading of that. He did one of those, and Sam Jackson did one too.
There's a new one that came out in that series that's called something that's funny, but I can't remember what it is, unfortunately. I the things that stuck out to me about the last three were mostly sort of oddities that I remembered. Like, I was incredibly distracted by Bill Burr being in his episode. I could not watch that and not think it was Bill Burr just running around in a Star Wars uniform in an episode. I found it really hard to separate from that. And also because it seems like they wrote him Bill Burr type lines, but he wasn't allowed to go R-rated in his usual way, so it came off as kind of half-assed.
Yeah. Did you happen to see the interview he did on some radio show or something where they were asking him about how that all happened?
No.
And it was essentially he's friends with Jon Favreau, and I guess he's been known to not really be a Star Wars fan and kind of talk about how stupid it is.
Yeah, he's made fun of it before. Yeah.
And so Favreau asked him to do it, and he's like, why do you want me to do that? And Favreau said, because everybody knows that you hate it would be funny.
Yeah.
So he did it.
He did a good job. He's a
I thought he was good.
He's a decent actor. Yeah. But outside of that, I remember that, and I remember, like, I kind of, I don't know. I wouldn't say that this series of the last three episodes in particular really grabbed me very strongly. Like, I kind of watched them and they happened. I wouldn't say I was super invested in the whole product by the end of it. I think that I started to notice, because there's so little going on, I start to notice like the other things. Like, I start looking at like the CGI background and kind of thinking about that while the show is going on. And I'm thinking about Bill Burr and I'm thinking about Werner Herzog and things. So I don't know. I thought it was okay. I have so little to say about Star Wars properties outside of like the reaction to them at this point. I just don't know what to say about them anymore. Like, we had to delay our Solo coverage, and I'm kind of annoyed that I have to watch the movie again because I'm going to forget everything that happened in that stupid movie. But I didn't like Solo. I thought Mandalorian was fine. And I think it's just so interesting that we can talk about the episode or whatever, but it's like, I just think it's so episode that the reception that this franchise gets is like insane. It's like a religious awakening or something whenever these movies come out and people debate it all. And it's like, this is all... The best Star Wars stuff is a B+ at best. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's all B, C-, something like that. Like, and this is the same for me.
I'm really surprised that this show has been getting the massively warm reception that it has been. I shouldn't even say warm reception, because that's less than that's not as powerful of a description as I think that it needs, because people are going nuts over this show. And I'm not totally sure why. It's not bad. It's fine. I think it's good. I think it's fun Star Wars. Maybe that's why. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't Star Wars, I don't think anyone would be talking about it whatsoever.
Yeah. I feel like part of it is because it is removed from the other movies, and it's just sort of like right down the middle Star Wars story. Or a story with Star Wars stuff in it. That's not really complicated, and it's not hard to get into, and it's not hard to like. Baby Yoda has taken over the world.
I'm just, and that's the other thing I had to mute. I was like, I can't see any more of these memes. I can't see any more Baby Yoda memes. It's not even a great meme at this point. It's like, I don't know if that's just the case.
I'm shocked that it took off the way it did, because it seemed like it. The cynical part of me says it was created exactly for that purpose.
Yep.
And I feel like I thought that people saw through that stuff a little bit easier, but I guess not.
Do you think
that's not to say that I don't like him. I think he's cool. I think he's fun. But
do you think brands intentionally try? I see a lot of media talking about that. They think that companies and production houses and stuff intentionally try to memify their work. And I find that difficult, because the memes come from a unironic sense of like, memes don't really come about from created meme images. It's like you have to take something that's like unintentionally strange or vague in what it looks like, and then you can kind of put your own imprinting onto it. And I don't know how effective it would be. Like trying to, it's like an even harder version of trying to come up with a catchphrase and hoping that it's going to catch on. It's like, no, the catchphrase that'll catch on is the one that you don't expect will ever catch on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think the most successful thing, maybe this is unsurprising given Disney's history with kid stuff, but I think the most successful things to come out of the Disney Star Wars have all been these sort of smaller side creatures, whether it's BB-8 or uh, the Porgs or Baby Yoda, or in the new movie there's like three of them, and they're
Yep.
all pretty successful. Like
Hmm.
there's a second droid who's even more tiny and cute than BB-8 is.
The droids always work. Even the
Yeah,
IG,
they're
whatever his
very
name
good at
is
the
in this one,
droids.
he's my favorite character in this Mandalorian
Excuse me.
series. Is the assassin droid that becomes a nanny
Yeah,
at the end. I wish
they
we'd seen more of him being a nanny, because his sacrifice would have meant more for me if he had been there the entire time. I think at the
right.
end, but it was that
Yeah.
kind of a thing. I like that character.
Yeah, it kind of goes to what we were saying early on about how these stories tend to be about the loner who ends up picking up stragglers and kind of building a unintentional family out of them. And they didn't really do that until the last two episodes or so. So it doesn't really land the way that it does in like Outlaw Josie Wales or something like that.
Yeah,
But yeah, they Disney has really figured out the droids really well. Like every single droid they've done has been fantastic.
yeah,
They've whether it's BB-8 or is it K2 from Rogue One?
yeah. I think K2 something. The
Yeah,
black, yeah, the
and
black sarcastic droid. You just have to
yeah,
you give them a personality trait and you amp it to 11, and that's
yeah,
how you build a droid, basically.
yeah. And I thought that the droid in Solo was one of my favorite parts of Solo.
Yes, she's
Um,
funny.
yeah, I think
She's also very thick. That is the
they
thickest
did
droid.
they did give the first female droid very wide hips. Yeah. But yeah, they figured out that stuff really well. It's just the other stuff that hasn't quite fallen into place for them yet. But
Yeah,
and I wonder, I
droids are the
think
most Disney-esque of. I mean, I
oh
would agree.
yeah,
The droids are the. It's funny because I would almost think that the droids are hard to design, but they don't seem that way. It seems like you can always successfully design a droid for any of the movies, and it either needs to be cute or it has to have this kind of personality that's kind of strange or off-put. But
hmm
they're always funny, and they're always kind of interesting characters to have, all the way back to the original trilogy with R2 and C-3PO, were like a good pairing of each other. And
yeah,
the main characters, they don't seem to be able to design people as effectively as they can design the droids. It's a strange. I guess it's just easier to sort of make a parody of a character and turn it into a droid than it is to flesh out the Mandalorian, who doesn't say anything, doesn't take his helmet off or whatever.
hmm
But
hmm
I don't know. I do like the droids. I think that they're good.
yeah, and it's interesting how that's an element that was lost for a long time. Because if you look at the prequel movies, there's robots all over that thing, and every one of them is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole army in the first movie is all droids, and they're all gag droids. They don't have personality. They're just like, oh, this droid, like the ones from the Amy Sedaris episode that turn into that little mushroom thing.
Yeah, yeah. The mechanic
That's
droids.
all they do. They don't really have a lot of personality. Any new droids that were I can't think of like a memorable droid design from the prequels the
No,
way that they have in the new ones. Well, I mean, the IG unit is an original series thing, but like K2 is a very good looking original design.
I just remember Roger from the prequels. That's when they
Yeah,
talk to each other. That's what
yeah,
this.
those
Yeah,
stupid looking,
battle droids.
yeah, with the long faces, and
Yeah,
yeah.
yep.
But yeah, they seem to figure out what they do well and manage to lean into it. Back to the show. I think, yeah, I wish the IG unit had been hung around a bit. I'm kind of so jumping into the last episode. um, you've got this setup for the future season where it's okay. Now he's got to take Baby Yoda and find his planet and stuff. I I couldn't help but chuckle at the end when he's getting ready to leave and he's like, Cara Dune, you should come with me. And she's like, I don't know. I think I'm going to hang around here for a while, which is exactly what she said in the last episode she was in.
Yeah, and then he
She's
went
like,
and
I don't
found her.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to hang around on this planet for a while. You give her something to do. I don't know.
Also hanging
Um,
around on a tar pit of an area too. It's like we get a ride back to the He just
Yes,
flies off.
yeah.
He's just hanging out in like a molten volcano area. Yeah.
Hanging around on a planet that has just been shot up by the remnants of the Empire,
Yep.
and I don't really know what the civilization infrastructure is like at this point, but yeah, the Bill Burr episode, I like that one. It was just really simple, and I guess that one at least had a couple twists towards the end, a little bit in terms of like backstabbing, and
Yeah.
I liked the payoff at the end where he put the tracker on the
Twillick or whatever that thing is called.
yeah, whatever the guy, where the guy from Sons of Anarchy was, like that base planet, and though I like that that tracker just means that the X-wings are just going to blow up wherever it is.
Yeah, no,
And it doesn't matter where it is or what it is. If that's where the signal's coming from, they're going to blow it up.
it's definitely a tracker. Open up fire on it. No, I actually like the Bill Burr episode the least. I think because I think
me too. Of the last three, I agree.
Yeah, I was just kind of. It's fine. It's sort of it's well directed in the sense that it's an episode that the direction of it is kind of difficult to show story in such a similar looking jail cell area. Like you kind of have to pay attention to like where characters are and what's going on and like and things like that. But I wasn't super invested in that story. I felt like I was kind of running out of gas of the adventure of the week stuff by that time, and that felt like the final hurrah for that thing. And then, but actually, when it got into the later two episodes, when they just start giving you exposition about what has happened, I kind of checked out at that point too. I was like, yeah, all right, like sure, like this is what's going on with these guys. And
sorry, I was just gonna say well, finish your point, and then I'll go.
Well, it just comes down to I think this is a series designed for Star Wars fans because everyone is like, holy shit, a Darksaber. I'm like, what the fuck is a Darksaber? Like, I thought that was just a guy's normal sword that he was cutting his way out of at the end or something. I didn't. If I hadn't seen online that was meant to be something, I wouldn't have thought twice about it. I wouldn't have been like, he has an energy sword. Cool. Like, I see that. We see that in all the sequel trilogies. They all can fight lightsabers with normal weapons in those movies. So who cares?
Everybody's got a laser-based weapon in the sequels.
Yeah, so it's like, who cares about that? And like even Alan Sepinwall had to edit his review about it because he was like, he must be a Sith, right? Like, I don't know what else is there. And people were like, no, actually, you have to watch the cartoons. He's like, I don't watch the cartoons, so I don't know any of this stuff. So he had to edit it with what the guy actually was. But it's that kind of a thing. Like, I guess it's Easter eggy for people, and people like that. But if you're not into that kind of Easter eggy referencing the universe kind of stuff, I don't know if there's enough to really hold me on to the rest of the story.
Sure.
Like I felt like you could have cut 2 episodes or out of this at least, or 3, and it would have been the same thing. So I don't know.
Yeah, it feels to me like they're not giving you the right kind of information when you need it for some of this stuff. Like, not that you really need the thing about the Darksaber or whatever. I mean, that's an Easter eggy thing, I guess, even though they do lean into it quite a bit at the end to show off what it is. But like, I'm thinking of the Bill Burr episode. I was expecting more from who the prisoner was that they were trying to get, because it was, so little about the Mandalorian himself, and they don't really set up why this prisoner matters to the story. It's just like they go get the prisoner. Oh, it's the girl's brother. Cool. Now I guess I feel like generally
you feel like it's supposed to be the Khan reveal from Into Darkness. You're supposed to be like, oh my god, he's the prisoner or something like that. Yeah, I was let
something
down.
It doesn't have to be like something huge like that, but it feels like that should be a story, a bigger story point in that story. Like, at that point when the Mandalorian sees who the prisoner is, it's someone that is really influential or it has had an impact on his life in some way, which then changes his attitude about what they're doing. And it's really not that. It's just sort of like another hey, remember what happened at the blah blah blah. It's like, well, yeah, don't let it happen again.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
It's a lot of explaining his backstory through. It's an interesting way to explain his backstory because you are basically giving exposition, but you're narratively doing it at the same time. So it's not just like a character comes up and says, "Hey, Mando, remember last time we met, you did this." It's like he has a little adventure to get to a point where the character says that to him. And so it feels like you're a little bit more earned to get there. But at the same time, it's not, it's a lot of characters just explaining to you what he is because he doesn't particularly take a lot of action for himself. And I'm still somewhat confounded by the Mandalorian's characterization, really, because I don't think that he's conflicted nearly enough to be any kind of interesting character. He's a pretty good guy who is he's kind of like a GTA hero in a lot of ways. It's like it's a good character that is kind of forced to do these crimes for people, and he's not really into it. He'll do it, but he's not really into it, and he'll go so far in doing his crimes. He's not going to do horrible stuff. It reminds me of that, and I feel they missed the boat with characterizing him or making his turn more interesting, just because I feel like that's kind of the driver of the story, even if it's cliche at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's he again is not particularly good at his job. Or I should say he's
not exceptional at it, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like the way that they write him is a little more cliche than it could be, because especially in that last episode, excuse me, where he gets like blown up and then he's like, no, just leave me and let me die. It's like, well, no, he should probably be trying to get up and move and stuff. It's one of those things where it's like the stuff they have him doing skews a little bit more middle of the road than him actually having a character, Yeah.
Most interesting part of his characterization is he never takes his helmet off, yet he carefully manicures his facial hair, which is an interesting combination. A carefully trimmed mustache to go with his never seen visage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, I'm missing. I feel like it's missing some story weight for some of the things that they're doing. I felt the same way about the second to last episode, where the Empire shows up and then Giancarlo Esposito comes out, and I was like, and the reaction is like you're kind of supposed to know who this guy is.
Yeah.
And I didn't. And so him showing up.
Is it just supposed to be the Empire? Is that?
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, you'd think the stormtroopers would be.
Oh, that's yeah. Although
you would know that that's the Empire, but
yeah,
like they did that thing where you've got Herzog as the bad guy, then nope, there's another like a big higher up bad guy who's coming in, and now he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
But the way that they play it is that it seems like you're supposed to know who this guy is, and they kind of react as though they know who he is, but they don't really get into who he is at all.
Yeah, sorry, I honestly don't remember their react. I remember his appearance, but I don't. Do the Mandalorian and other characters react as if they are supposed to know who he is in a specific sense? I honestly don't remember.
I can't remember.
Okay,
I can't remember because the introduction is so oddly vague as to what you're supposed to be feeling here, other than I guess associate it to the Empire. But,
yeah.
Because I was expecting the way that they were playing it, I thought it was going to be someone that we might know, or it was someone that the Mandalorian was connected to. Yeah. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think they really have any connection, unless I'm forgetting something.
I mean, outside of the Darksaber, which I guess is the Mandalorian sword. So him having it, maybe he doesn't see the sword though, right? I don't think he sees it.
He doesn't see it, and you don't know he has it until the very last shot of the season.
Right.
So that's not doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a little weird storytelling wise as far as that stuff goes.
Yeah. I would agree, and I feel like they almost jammed in too much at the end. Really, like it could have. I could have dealt with a little bit more of this stuff, at least hinting at it maybe earlier or something. It felt like it was a lot of exposition that was dumped right at the end. My eyes kind of crossed over or whatever, and I was like, all right, I'll wait for the internet reviews to come out and fill me in on what this is all supposed to mean. But there's some things that I think that the show did really well. Like maybe my favorite sequence was, I thought it was really visceral when he's hanging on to the TIE fighter as he's flying around. I was like, wow, this feels really like impactful. Like I actually felt like a little bit seasick or whatever, just from like the amount of like turning in the air. I thought it was really good.
That stuff was good. I like that stuff. Kyle says they recognize him as Moff Gideon because of the info he reveals about the characters. Kyle, do they have any connection to him
Does
before
Gideon
he shows up?
exist? Is Gideon a known quantity?
I don't think Gideon is a known character, but like as far as the connection between Gideon, okay, oh, he's behind the purge of Mandalore. Okay,
Is that a comment later on? Maybe.
yeah.
I'm just saying.
Kyle said he was behind the purge of Mandalore. Yeah, all right. I mean, it's still kind of it feels weird, but it's I don't know. I guess that's all right.
Is that revealed in the series? That's what we're assuming?
I think does Cara Dune say it in a line of dialogue or something? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
Let's just all sit and wait till Kyle responds.
We can have Kyle.
Kyle's our fact checker on this podcast.
He is. He's got the Star Wars knowledge locked down. He knew who Mando was. This is Mercer. It's very confusing. Anyway, I guess this is this show is less about getting the facts straight, I suppose, as to us responding about why we didn't get the facts in the first place, which probably infuriates some people. But I thought there were two effective moments. I thought viscerally the fighting on the TIE fighter was really good. And I loved IG-11, the droid's sacrifice. I really liked that at the end. I thought the droid was really funny in a way that wasn't intentionally overwritten as jokes. He had a very natural way of what his perspective on life was at that point. That was really interesting. And they could have done more, as much as they did with the Mandalorian's hatred of droids. Having the droid character around feels like that would have been a good way to build his character over the series. Like, because they jam all of that into one episode. And, you know, the whole lesson is the Mandalorian is like, you can't kill yourself, droid. I've turned and realized that droids are people too. And the droids are like, actually, I'm not a person, so I can just blow myself up and no one cares. And they should have focused on that more. That's a good way, because as far as I can see, that's the Mandalorian's only character trait, that he doesn't like droids, really.
Yeah, and it didn't really pay off that much, and they didn't really lean into it at all either. Like, it wasn't that scene where, I mean, I guess he just distrusts the IG unit. But yeah, it would have been nice if the IG unit had been there for a while, so you can lean into that stuff a bit more as far as the stories go. I can't remember if I've said this previously. But
sorry, but Kyle's just reminded me. The Gideon comes in and does say Mandalorian's real name. I do remember that now. So that's how he knows him. Okay.
I can't remember if I've said this before, but I feel like my biggest issue with this show is they don't take advantage of the stuff that they've put in it, like character wise. Or even concept wise, it's just sort of there as trappings to tell whatever other story that they want to tell. For instance, the Baby Yoda, the concept of him having Baby Yoda is great. It's him, this baby. He doesn't want to have this baby. He's running from the Barney Hunters or whatever, blah, 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 blah. But every episode starts with him figuring out a way to not bring Baby Yoda on a mission.
Mm-hmm.
Get him out of the way so they can do this other story that they want to do, which is why I think for me why it's not connecting story-wise for me, because everything feels like a side mission. And that's why in the prisoner one, I was expecting the reveal of who the prisoner was to be a little bit more impactful, because you are putting aside your main thing in order to go do this other thing. And it just ultimately is like, we have to go free the red guy. And then that's just kind of the story. And
sorry, why is he working with those guys? Like, I understand his other missions, I think. Like, he has to repair his ship. He has to do this. He has to get this guy to, like, help him. It's very video gamey, actually, in how it's set up. But why is he working with the Bill Burr group? What's he getting out of that?
I forget.
I don't remember. I was watching the episode wondering why he was working with them at that point. Maybe someone will say that.
It's honestly, based on this show, he probably needed a part for his ship.
Yeah.
That's like five
out of
3 to 5 of these episodes have been about him fixing his ship.
Have you ever gone to an auto repair shop? You always walk away with the wrong part, and you got to go back and get a new thing and talk to the guy and embarrass yourself.
And if you don't get a part, then the guy who works at the auto mechanic shop is, looping you in to do some sort of crime.
I know.
Or free his brother in jail. But like that.
They fixed his ship. Yeah, Mercer says they fixed it.
Yeah, there you go. So you've got the concept of your show that's constantly being put to the side in service of these other episode to episode things, which is the stuff they're doing is fine, but I don't know why you wouldn't work that concept into the story. So instead of every time every episode starts, they put Baby Yoda in a closet, he should at this point be like, I'm not leaving this thing alone, or he tries to and it follows him, like that, like he can't get rid of it. So then that has to play into the story somehow, instead of them just putting him in a closet and then he has kind of his own adventure.
Yep.
And I feel the same thing with the droid thing. The droid thing is something that they talk about a lot, but it doesn't really have any impact on the story.
Yep.
Because you've got these droids and he's like, I don't like droids. And then ultimately the droid goes, I'm actually pretty cool. And he's like, all right, fine, this time. But there's no like,
you can't
real
die.
pushback.
You have to stay with me.
Yeah, there's no real pushback from him when droids are involved.
Yeah.
They just kind of go about their story.
Yep.
So it's interesting that they have all of these fun elements, but they keep putting them to the side in order to do other stuff.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, that comes back to the kind of kids idea. Like, in a lot of ways, like, I don't know if you ever watched it, but the Pokemon anime is the same thing. It's like he's going from town to town as he's trying to get to his final challenge to become a Pokemon master or whatever. But every episode doesn't really build on that in any way outside of, I would actually say that the Pokemon thing teaches morals better than this or anything, because he kind of learns the lesson at the end of his little adventure, but it's very disconnected from his main storyline. And that's how this feels. And that's okay for a kid's show, I guess. But the more I see of this series, I don't think this is a kid's show, specifically because of the way that they ended it, which is a lot of exposition, a lot of sort of complicated names and places and relationships to each other. And if it's not a kid's show, I think that they're not balancing that plot well enough. I think I saw someone on Discord, or in some review I saw that it probably was like a shorter season that once they got additional creative minds involved, they each decided to get an episode out of it. And they're like, well, you can't do anything plot-wise, so just do an Adventure of the Week story and just kind of build off of that. But what you did was you stretched out the Adventure of the Week stuff too much, to a point where it felt like there was this big gap in the middle where it wasn't just the Mandalorian getting back on his feet. It was like, this is the show. Oh, and we bookend it with all this exposition.
Yeah. I don't think the exposition they give you in the last episode is too overly complicated. There's a lot of it, and it makes me feel, I don't know. I don't love when they just take 5 minutes in the middle of a tense situation to dump a ton of exposition at you like that. But the stuff that they dump at you essentially is that he was a kid during the purge of this place, and that the Mandalorian saved him. That's about it.
Yeah.
Everything else is kind of it's not really super important. So I think it's still, you could still call it a kid show, because I think that's pretty clear and gets across pretty easily.
Okay. I'll just read a couple comments here. Let me see if there's anyone. What do we got here? It's supposed to be a Moff. Recognizes Moff Gideon. I thought I had more comments that I was going to read. I would not be surprised if Gideon is a younger character in season 7 of the Clone Wars, since Mandalore will be a big part of it. Did you guys like the Scout Troopers dialogue at the beginning? That's the final episode. Do you remember? I actually thought that was a really funny scene with the.
I thought it was funny, but it felt really.
It's out of place. It doesn't belong. I like that he punched Baby Yoda.
Yeah. Yes.
That was really funny.
Do you know who the actors? I think I saw somewhere one of them was Jason Sudeikis. I don't know who the other one was, though.
Oh, really?
Look it up. If anybody knows, let us know.
Yeah, tonally it's wrong, but I liked it. It was dialogue in a scene that sort of stuck out to me as being full of energy and really interesting. Yeah. And I liked how the droid just murders them at the end of it by slamming their faces into their machines and stuff. That's really funny. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know if Dave is going to continue watching the series, but it'll be funny when he gets to that scene, because his original criticism was he thought it felt like the fan film Troops, which is like a cops ripoff about, or a parody of stormtroopers as cops. And that first scene is very much feels like that, where it's like two guys in stormtrooper costumes just like saying pithy dialogue.
Yeah. It's tough. You that scene's interesting because I don't think you have much wiggle room in this universe with how things can sound and talk and like how dialogue can happen, really, because even Bill Burr, which I thought was going to stick out for on like a dialogue sense, he feels believable in the Star Wars universe in a way that the scout troopers talking to each other didn't.
Right. Yeah.
And because you can always have the Burr's kind of a version of Han Solo, really, there, where it's like kind of like the roguish, like smartass guy who's going to talk to you about things. So he fits in there, but two stormtroopers talking to each other without talking about like which patrol they're on never feels like it's official Star Wars dialogue, which is too bad. I think I wish they could branch it out in a little bit more ways, but I don't know if they can.
Yeah, I always feel it always feels weird to me when stormtroopers are just shooting the shit with each other, because it I guess it humanizes them in a way that feels wrong.
Well, I guess that's what they're supposed to be now. I was shocked that everyone's like, no, they're no longer clones. So I was like, what? When did that happen? Now they're just regular people, I guess, who serve in the army. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it complicates your setup a little bit because your stormtroopers are meant to be shot at. That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
So if you have them like, it's like, do you watch Rick and Morty at all?
Yes, but I probably will. I know some of the episodes. I'll see if I can get
the
your
very
reference.
first episode. Rick and Morty are running away from these like bug monsters and that are chasing them with guns. And Rick is telling Morty to shoot them, and he's like, I don't want to shoot them. They're people. And he's like, no, don't worry about it. They're robots. And he shoots one and blows his leg off.
Yeah,
and he starts like bleeding profusely and screaming about his family.
Yeah,
and that's what it feels like when they have the stormtroopers talk to each other or like have dialogue that has non-empire related stuff to it, because it makes it too real that you're killing a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, because the only way that I think that actually works is in the movie Rogue One. That kind of makes sense to me because that's kind of the political angle that movie's going on. But for the rest of it, I think the stormtroopers only function as unwitting, like programmed clone things that just don't question any orders from the Empire, and they just go about their business. And because otherwise you're just like, are there no meetings amongst stormtroopers who are like, is this really right what we're doing, blowing up these planets and stuff like that? That's
the impetus of the Finn character in the new movies, is that he managed to break out away of that brainwashing or whatever. Which would have been nice if they had expanded on that a bit in the three movies, but he's got to go save horses. So
young Din was rescued by Death Watch from the Clone Wars Mandalorian extremists, so he was raised by a terrorist group, hence his extreme following of the code. Most Mandalorians can remove their helmets. I got about 50% of that, but I guess that's the information that fills it in.
That's stuff that is I don't think you get most of that in the show. You definitely don't get that they are the Death Watch unless you know what that is.
Yeah,
but I still think the information you're given in that sequence is enough to get you through that part of the story. I'm sure that they'll probably elaborate on that stuff later.
Are you interested in season 2 of this?
Yes. I'm interested in season 2 because I'm curious to see how the show changes the way it works. Because if that was the case where it was like, this was going to be 4 episodes or 5 episodes, and then we had more people involved, so then we spread it out, so we had to change it. And like I said before, this series feels like an experiment, based on the concept, the way it's executed, the special effects stuff that they're doing with those backdrops and everything. It feels like an experiment for something bigger, or like a proof of concept of something that they want to do that's a little bit bigger and a little bit more ambitious.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what happens in the next season. I'm more interested in that than I am the story, to be honest with you. Like I don't give a shit if he ever makes it to Yoda planet,
Yeah, we meet all the Yoda family.
Yeah, I mean, if it's anything like the first season, he's not going to get there, and that is not even going to really be the story because he's going to do side missions for 8 episodes. That's part of what I'm interested in, is how it's structured and what their movement is and what the characters end up doing.
I just want a Muppet Babies version of Star Wars. It's just baby characters of every species. We have baby droids, we got baby Yodas, we got baby Wookiees,
Sure, why not?
or Wookiees, however you pronounce
baby
it.
Wookiees. Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't done that. Well, I guess they do. Yeah, well, Christmas special did a baby Wookiee, and it was horrifying.
Oh.
I would
really imagine
scary.
It would be like it would be the opposite of Yoda. They would retcon it to be like Chewbacca's only like 2 months old or something, in that like he ages super quick, but the Yoda's age
No,
super
they
slow.
can't. Chewbacca was in episode 3 as a full-grown Wookiee.
No, that's true. Yeah, he's a grown-ass Wookiee.
Kyle mentions Boba Fett. I was really surprised that there was no payoff to that tag at the end of the hunting down the assassin episode.
Yep.
Because it seemed like that's what they were going for, but it never materialized anything. When they did the tag at the end of this one, I thought maybe that they were going to go and reveal something there.
Yeah.
Like as far as tags go, excuse me. Showing that Gideon is alive and has a dark saber or whatever that is, was not super hooky for me. Versus if they had ended that season with Boba Fett showing up, then I would be like, oh shit, I can't wait to see what happens. But like the guy, I have no connection to the Gideon character because he was in it for like 10 minutes.
Yep.
And doesn't really do anything.
Yep.
And he's got a sword that I don't know anything about. So it's one of those things where I don't think universally it's a good hook. But I guess, your bad guy's still alive. Well, yeah, I don't know.
You also haven't seen a lightsaber, so the dark saber, like the dark saber kind of implies that you could fight against the lightsaber. Otherwise, it's just like he's just going to cut through things, I guess, is the...
Kyle, what is the dark saber, and is it a lightsaber or is it something else?
I was looking it up. It's a Mandalorian version of a lightsaber that can fight lightsabers.
The same kind of weapon. It's an energy sword weapon.
It's an energy sword weapon that they use the crystals to make. So it's basically a lightsaber.
Kyle, don't star your thes and A's at me. There's going to be 8 of them by the end.
If you can build one, you can build multiples of them. There's nothing special about this. It's like saying it's the warp drive instead of a warp drive. There's a billion of these goddamn things.
Yeah. Did you feel like the last 2 episodes, there wasn't enough to stretch across 2 episodes?
I thought I was actually surprised by how quick the second episode went when all the runtimes were 40 plus minutes, I think. The first one really dragged, but I didn't think so. I thought that they felt paced appropriately later on in it. I didn't feel that it really dragged all that much outside of the first one. And no, I guess I would say that I was happy with the runtime for them. I thought that they were an appropriate amount of time to get the amount of information that they needed across.
Yeah. It always feels weird to me when you yo-yo back between locations. And so when they busted out of the bar and then they ended up back in the bar, that felt weird to me. It felt like they were just sort of stretching out the
confrontation at that point.
Yeah, for the sake of like revelations and past kind of stuff. But yeah, I guess it wasn't really that big of a deal. Matt Ross asked, are we more interested in this or Star Trek Discovery season 3? If you're going Mandalorian season 2 or Discovery season 3, Discovery season 3 for me.
Same for me. I don't know if I'll continue watching this show. It doesn't grab me.
Yeah. Because it's fine. It's good. It's just, it's not like must see TV for me.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it, but I would rather watch the Star Wars movies at this point. Yeah. I don't know. I know that it's made me interested to check out the cartoons, Clone Wars and Rebels, because I know people love them. And I would be interested to dip into those and see if they grab me any more than this does. But yeah, it's good.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, it's fine. It's just I'm trying to think of like what the hook is for, like, what can't you wait to see in season 2 of this, you know?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the season, it's kind of like, oh, okay.
Right. Like, you must really want to see more Yodas. You must, you must be like, I must see where Yoda comes from. I must know all about this planet.
Got a nice bounce light off my hand here. This is nice.
Is that right? Not the glasses. I guess whoever holds this dark saber is the ruler of Mandalore. He's the king. He's got it. He's Gowron of Star Wars.
I mean, yeah, okay. If they get into that stuff, sure, I'm down. But like it's not. If this was on Netflix, this would probably be a show where I would watch a season and then forget that the other seasons existed.
Yeah.
And I did the same with Orange is the New Black, so it's no bearing on quality of the show.
They killed the character I would have wanted to continue. I want the droid to be there. Like I just don't. I was left with Carl Weathers, who I feel, and we were talking about before we started, I don't think he's taking this particularly seriously.
Every line he says like, if
God damn Mandalore. Like,
if you're a kid, right, and you're playing Star Wars or whatever, and then you ask your dad to play with you, but he doesn't really take it seriously. So he starts saying the dialogue like really over the top.
Use your hand wavy magic, baby. Yeah. Come on.
Oh, Mando. Can't wait to see you again. Where's the baby? I'd love to see him. That kind of stuff.
It is very Shakespearean twist on things. And I mean, what's her name? Gina Caruso, not an actress that I'm like, I must see more. Karana, not an actress I must see more of in this realm. Mandalorian doesn't do anything for me at that point. Baby Yoda's cute, but I mean,
I don't find, the only real story hook for the second season is bring him back to his home planet, and I don't know, that doesn't really interest me that much. So
yeah,
it's not going to change. It doesn't change the status quo of the show at all. It's just now he must bring the baby to the planet, which I guess he likes the baby now. So
yeah, he's always liked the baby.
Is it going to be more of the same, where he's shoving the baby in a closet and then the baby gets up to some hijinks while he does something that doesn't line up with the story that they're trying to? I don't know.
And Marissa mentioned, I'm surprised they killed Nick Nolte's character. That was shocking, if only because I was like, oh, like he's the one to keep around, I suppose, or something. But I guess they're just. I bet
Nick Nolte's not sad about it.
Who's not?
I bet Nick Nolte isn't sad about it.
No, he's the check still cashes, alive or dead, whether or not that character is there. Yeah, I don't feel the need to continue with this. Maybe, I mean, if people want us to talk about it, that's fine. I would not do, if it's anything like this season, I would not do a episode by episode recap of it because there's nothing to say about it really in that sense.
Sure.
But I'm not waiting on bated breath for this series to come back and fill in what happens to the Mandalorian at the very end. And that's not to say it's bad. It's just, it's totally disconnected from the quality of this material. The reception of Star Wars stuff is nonsense at this point. It's like, why is this series? Why are people going nuts for this? Like, other than the fact that it competently portrayed a Star Wars universe, which at this point is kind of a success for that franchise.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else is there. The movies are more interesting. Even the shitty movies are more interesting to talk about or to keep in like a cultural relevance kind of way, because I don't know, they feel more important or something. Like they feel like they're part of a larger thing. This is just a TV show that takes place in the universe. It does it very competently, and that's it.
Yeah, if they change their approach story-wise in the second season, I think it could bring me back in a much bigger way, because I don't think that the stories are particularly engaging. And if they throw some more twists and turns in there episode to episode, I think that would be make it a lot richer show. Yeah. I was talking about this with someone else, and he was complaining. He was saying that I just don't appreciate simplicity. Mm-hmm. And it's like, come on, man. If you're going to tell a story, tell a story. These kind of feel like a setup for a story, and then here's some action, and then the story ends. there's not really a story really being told that often.
Yep.
And which is not inherently a bad thing, because when the series started, that's I really liked the second episode where he goes after the egg, but that was, you were still getting to know everything at that point. So the fact that he hadn't said much and that you were getting a lot of action felt fresh. But by like episode 6, when it's just kind of the same thing over and over again, it's like, okay, I mean, the action's fun, but I would like a little bit more story intrigue.
Yeah.
That they've been giving us. Although I would love to see Clancy Brown back as the giant red devil guy. He was great.
Was that Clancy Brown? I didn't even recognize him. Well, interesting. Yeah, I would. There was some comment here that was maybe not. Did I miss everything? Carano's arms are the true star of the show. That's true. Farscape.
Yeah.
Safe Star Wars. That's what it is. Safe Star Wars. Hard to hate.
I wish Gina Carano was a better actress, because she's a very imposing presence, and she looks great on camera.
Yeah, great in fight scenes too. Her bar fight scene was kind of cool with the electric rope.
I think she does fine with what she has to do for the most part in this show. But yeah, I wish she was a little bit better, because she's someone who I would like to see more of. Maybe she'll get better. I don't know.
I mean, ultimately, would you say that the series could serve the purpose of? Well, thank you, Matt Ross, for the super chat for the Voyager Fund. Couldn't this? Would you be more or less interested in this series if it served as a backdrop for explaining where the First Order came from?
Nah, I don't care.
You don't care. The First Order's origin doesn't really bother you. Doesn't bother me, because I just treat them as the Empire. They're just the Empire, just redone.
Yeah, I don't even think, I don't even know if the people who created the First Order know where the First Order came from.
They came about in such a short period. And not to get off on that, but that's always, I've said this before, that's always been my problem with the franchise, and why I think that I prefer, just personally, Star Trek, because I like universe building like that, but I don't know if Star Wars' version of the universe building is as effective as Star Trek's is, just because of how differently the series are set up. So like and how I talked about before, where if you try to push Star Wars and you end up with that Stormtrooper dialogue that kind of felt wonky, or it was like, this doesn't really feel like Star Wars dialogue, you end up in this place where you have this very fantasy.
Books don't count, Kyle.
The books don't count. You have this very fantasy version of this universe that, by trying to flesh it out and make it seem real, is at odds with the fantasyness of what's going on in it. And I think that it suffers from that. So if you were to flesh out the First Order in Mandalorian, I would not really be interested in that, even though I think that the series is begging for that to be explained in this portion of it. It's like, you got to kind of tie that together if you want things to work, or you want to like link the empires or things like that. Or if you want to, if the Mandalorian is supposed to serve as a link between those two time areas, then that's kind of what you have to talk about. But I don't think they want to, in its best interest not to talk about that. But at the same time, if you want the universe to feel cohesive, you kind of have to. But I'm not really interested in that cohesion.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how they approach it. Because if by the formation of the First Order you mean like, this is where Supreme Leader Snoke enters the picture, I don't give a shit about that. But like if it was more like a Rogue One level
politics of how could this happen again, I think is interesting.
That would probably be, I think that's a different show though. I don't really know if that's what they're going for here.
Yeah.
That could be kind of interesting though. And I think
you just need a Senate version of Star Wars. It's just Star Wars the West Wing version. Where
we need Star Wars C-SPAN.
What's his name? Shiv Palpatine or something. We'll just get him in. Yeah, Shiv. We'll get him in there.
I think where Star Wars expansion and world building is most successful is when they don't try to break the archetypes that they've set up as far as the Empire and the Rebellion, but they get into how those things affect different places. So Rogue One is really successful, I think, because it's not you don't spend a ton of time with the Empire. The Empire is the Empire that you remember from the first movies. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel there.
Yep.
What they're giving you is how the Empire is imposing itself on different places and how that pressure is affecting those different places.
Affecting real, quote unquote, real people who are not
Yes.
Jedi. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you go to Jeddah, is that what the name of the planet was? The Jedi planet where Forrest Whitaker was hanging out?
I don't know. The Tatooine
Anyway,
lookalike desert planet. Yeah.
When you go to that planet, you can see the Imperial presence and how it's affecting people who live there and how it's turned into, you've got like these separatists who are suicide bombing stuff and everything. That stuff's really interesting. I'm much more interested in that than I am the nuts and bolts of how and why. Let's really get into the Empire. I don't give a shit. The Empire's the Empire.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that. And I think that,
because I think when you do try to do that, you end up doing what the prequels do, where it's like, well, we need to see exactly how the formation of the Empire happened. And it's like, oh, well, do you?
Right. Yeah. And that's what I mean by it's at odds. I mean, to counteract it, the problem with Star Trek is that it'll never reach the soaring emotional heights of Star Wars because of how it's constructed in that way. Like it just doesn't feel as monumental in the way that the best Star Wars stuff does. And that's the nature of the, I'll say, semi-realistic approach that Star Trek has in a way that's not fantasy version of Star Wars. And that's the difference. And it's just, you like what you like, I suppose. Cal just asked, is it better if the First Order answers come in the show rather than a book?
Probably.
Yeah. So I guess the basis of that question is whether or not you feel that this universe would benefit from getting that explanation put into a medium that people consider to be really canon.
Yeah, I would say yes. My problem with the books is that I feel like they use the books. Excuse me, sorry. I feel like the books end up being hole fillers for the most part. That's why I've never really liked books, ever. I don't read. I never learned how to read.
Stupid words.
It's because, and they're always, no matter what goes in the book, if they decide in the movie that they want to do something different, they're going to do something different. There's the books might be canon, but they're only canon until they do something different in the movie.
Yeah.
So my stance has always been, if it happens in the movie, then it counts. If it happens in a book, it's like, yeah, maybe. And
that would be a good movie. You could say that would be really work if that was in a movie. Good job, yeah.
Yeah, the same with the shows. I think the stuff that happens in Clone Wars, sure, that's canon. Why not? They're using it here. They're using it in other places. That stuff counts. But do the comic books count? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, we have to call it a day, but thank you very much for that. So we'll see what season 2 happens. Let me know. Leave your thoughts about this one in the comments down below. You can follow us on the social media, all that stuff, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. You can join the Discord if you want to continue the conversation there. Go to the Star Wars channel and talk about the wrap-up of Mandalorian. Let us know what you thought about it. I think that's it. Any other comments here? No, not really. Thank you guys for coming in and listening. It's very much appreciated. Thank you for the super chats to Matt and Mercer. And I think we're done with Mandalorian. That's it. Any final words, Clay, before we sign off?
No. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you whatever the next thing we do is. Is it Picard? Is that the next thing?
Star Trek movies, I guess, would be the next thing.
Kelvin movies, right? Yeah. I'm actually very excited about that. I've been looking forward to doing that for a while.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. And we had a just so you guys know, before we sign off briefly, we did a DS9 wrap-up series that'll pop up. We'll do the DS9 documentary, then we'll try to do as many Kelvin movies as we can before Picard starts, and that's about it. Thank you. Happy New Year to everyone who said Happy New Year, too. Happy New Year, guys.
Thank you, Mercer, for the congratulating me on the successful Kickstarter. I appreciate it.
There you go. That's a start, right? You're just getting that money into an offshore bank account at this point, and you're getting ready to suddenly abruptly
I don't know
leave.
if you can tell from where I am, but I'm actually in Jamaica at the moment.
It's cheap living.
And we should be doing solo, I hope, fairly soon, because I'd like to do that and get it over with.
Yes, I hated Solo. Everyone who's looking forward to our Solo coverage. Solo is the worst Star Wars movie of all of them.
You know, it's going to be interesting because I think Solo is really boring. You seem to really hate it, and Dave actually liked it quite a bit. So it's going to be an interesting.
It'll be an inverse of the Last Jedi conversation. But you guys can look forward to that too. Thank you very much, guys, for listening. Hope you enjoyed the content. Thank you for the super chats. Happy New Year. Thanks, and see you later. Bye.